Many thanks for tuning to CAC TV and watching Powerbrief. And tonight we are looking into government regulations. Remember, the government has got the monopoly to direct you on what to consume, what not to consume, and even it goes further by directing companies, productions and producers into what they're supposed to produce and what they're not supposed to produce. We are privileged to have Mr. John Kamau, the CEO of SMS Africa, and also Mr. Oluoch, who is the youth leader of Nairobi County. Gentlemen, before we went for a short break, we were looking into this thorny matter where a number of youths have found themselves into a crisis. Unaona wanasema unakaa zombie, unaamka asubuhi, kazi yako ni kubet and what have you. Mambo inakuwa namna hiyo. But again, remember, we are in a society and we have to find ways on how to address a problem when it comes to avoid rebellion. What do we do to ensure that we do not sink them into more troubles?
First of all, I would like to start by disagreeing a little bit with John from what he said before, that we should not nationalize the betting issue. I think the only way we can tame this thing is to make sure that we have a strict law followed by the government of Kenya, so that at least we regulate it. You know, sometimes private sectors get their way out, as in they have their ways of doing things. But when it comes, then we say that this thing will be regulated by the government of Kenya. Even if there is something wrong, the government of Kenya will be held eligible. It will be very good. So I think on my side, for us to make sure that we have these, you know, it's a very big industry. It creates a lot of revenue, a lot of money. So for us to harness this opportunity, let us allow the government of Kenya, through nice policies that maybe they will be legislated through the National Assembly, to make sure that we have strict policies that will govern this betting industry. You know, when you leave it to the private sector, maybe the taxes will not, you know, it is a multi-billion industry and it has a lot of good revenue into our country. So when we leave it to the private sector, maybe at some particular time, they might go and try to get away with paying the taxes, and the government of Kenya will not get the benefit directly.
So Mr. Oluoch, what you're trying to say is that our focus, or the country's focus, should be on taxes or the welfare of the people who are betting, of the citizens?
Well, I think for us to, gambling is good, of course, but it has, you know, out of maybe 1 million people that bet, very few people win. Very few win. So it is good, yes, but it has benefited lesser people than is expected. So what I think is, if the government can come strongly and try to bring strict measures into this, it will discourage some of those young people that are lazing around waiting for just betting. So for the way of discouraging them, at least people will go and find something else to do. So if we have good policies that will make sure the government is following, is adhering to them to the latter, I think at the end of the day, we will not have these loopholes, a lot of loopholes in the betting industry. We will have a very good structured industry that is run and the government is following and oversighting it. I think by then, the cases of maybe depression and suicide and all this, what have you, will come down. The only reason as to why these people get into depression is that someone else won and I've got this money, I want to win also, that notion. And a lot of people are getting into gambling because some other people are doing it. So if we bring strict measures onto this and discourage our young people, because most of the young people nowadays, they don't want to go and do mjengo. You'll get our mamas and old women are the ones that are at mjengos, and these are the ones that are in the social looking for work. A lot of our young generation are seated at home or at the gambling spaces, trying to gamble their way out. And even if you see there are a lot of people that are engaging themselves in theft, especially in towns or even in homes, there are these people that are going to gamble. Someone comes and steals your phone, goes and sells it, then that money uses to place a bet with it. Then it goes. Then tomorrow, is encouraged again to come and steal again from someone else, and so forth and so forth. So I think the government should come in handy and make sure that it strictly adheres to the policies that has been legislated from the National Assembly, to make sure that they control fully the gambling sector. Just the way the film and classification board is. You know, the way, if we could have not been having such a board, I think we could have gone outside our way. But because we have it now and the government is following it to the letter, I think we have a very good film.
Thank you, Mr. Oluoch, on that contribution. Mr. Kamau, still on regulations. Last year, months before this crackdown came about to betting companies, a company which we will not name was given an award for being the highest taxpayer for 3 years. Then few months down the line, the same company was shut down, I think up to now, and it was said that they were not repaying taxes.
I think the issue, and first to answer my brother here, I think the government has been more focused on raising taxes from all these businesses, forgetting the nationals, forgetting the patriots, because you can't say that we don't have good measures for betting. They're actually very strict, and probably the most strict in Africa. Currently, we are paying around 55% of our GGR to government, because we have gaming tax, we have betting tax, we have withholding tax, and exercise duty. So with exercise duty is around 16.67% of all stakes price. So if you price a stake of, for example, 1,000 shilling, 833 is what will remain as your stake. The rest is taken off to be submitted to government. If you win as a player, I'm still talking of a player, if you win, they take an extra 20% of your winnings. So the winnings, if you win 1,500, they take 20% of that amount to government. And then from that, gaming companies are supposed to pay betting tax 15% and gaming tax 20%. So at the end of the day, if you do an accumulation of all these taxes, you find you're paying around 55 to 60% of your gross gaming revenue back to government. So I think that is enough strictness to gaming companies. I don't think we can say that the rules have not been stiff on betting companies. But the issue is, have they sensitized the youths? Are we telling the youths, you just bet with amounts you can afford to lose? Are we telling them how to control it? And I was surprised, and I'm still surprised to date, that nobody has started counseling on betting victims. Because all these people that you're talking of killing themselves, I think these can be stopped by talking about gaming in public barazas, in chiefs barazas. We should also be having specialists from the gaming board going to these barazas and the villages and universities talking about this vice. Let us understand that betting is big, but should be taken as a way of entertainment. It only goes to us when we take it as an employment opportunity. Because if you wake up and you get your 100 and start pressing bet and you believe that you're working, that is very long. So let's take it as an entertainment, and that things will be okay. About the government, and this is what I say, if the government was to own all the betting companies and merge them into one, that would be wrong. Because as I said, of all the parastatals we've had in government, none of them at this moment doesn't have a scandal. Talk of as old as companies like Kisumu Molasses. Talk of any other companies that you can think of. Parastatals, all involved in road, in procurement of government infrastructures, everything. So let's have the betting, but let's keep it to the private sector. If the government wants to do betting, yes, they can do a national lottery. And our brothers in Ethiopia are doing the same. Rwanda are doing the same. South Africa are doing the same. So we can have a national lottery that involves only the number games. But for sport betting, we need at least the private sectors to also come in.
Thank you, Mr. Kamau. Now, as we move on, comment is coming from one of our viewers. And still on government regulations, Mr. Oluoch will come in strongly here. Someone is asking about unga. That at one point the government regulated, wakasema around 17 brands of unga were containing a lot of aflatoxin. Those unga were banned from the shelves in the supermarkets, and then after a while they saw them again, and even they are consuming. Even atujui Mr. Kamau anakula nini, and even yourself. What comes of this? You stand a better position to answer it, being in the National Advisory Board.
You know, being a Kenyan is, I can say, is a better way of saying dying 1,000 times.
Are you a Kenyan?
Being a Kenyan, I'm a Kenyan, and it's very much regrettable, especially in our industries and in our government agencies. It's so sad that 1 month someone says we should consume this, in the next month it comes and tells us that it has aflatoxin and what have you. And in another, as part of another month, it comes and says that it is clear for consumption. I think Kenyans are at their very end in terms of their health system, and we have taken in a lot of maybe your aflatoxin and other ingredients that they are not good for consumption. Because even that one is just one sector of an industry. What of maybe other areas like millers, sorghums, and maybe rice? That shows us how our agricultural sector is a mess. And
You've forgotten mercury in sugar?
Yeah, sure. You see, there is also mercury in sugar, and so forth and so on. And these are most of the time these are ingredients that they are imported into the country, because we understand that saga of mercury in our sugar, it came along with the imported sugar from maybe South Sudan and somewhere where there was that war. And again, we had some maize being imported from Brazil at a particular time, and some years later we found that that maize that was being imported into our country is the same maize that was used for consumption and also for bringing up these ungas. So on my side, I can say the government has let the Kenyan people down, and even apologizing is an statement. People should have just resigned and go home. You know, if you joke with the health of someone, it's barely like you have prepared him to die, and it's not good enough. I work for the government, and I saw the kind of negligence that sometimes happens in different sectors, and as a Kenyan, I say it's toxic and it's bad. So people should just be Kenyans and at least be human beings, especially when we are mandated on serving the Kenyan people. Let us serve them with dignity and with humanity at some point. What I can say is that issue of aflatoxin and our foods being contaminated with some other ingredients or some other viruses and all those things is not even, it's uncalled for and very bad. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Oluoch. Now, Mr. Kamau, parting shots from both of you. You see, we've been focusing on government regulations, things that a good population consumes on each and every day. But again, you see, information comes from the government, maybe it gets distorted on the way, or it reaches the recipients, but it's not acted upon well. And as both of you have spoken, it's about mistrust, it's about lack of belief and ability to the government. We want to get way forward now. How can the government approach every other matter when they are telling the citizens, hii maji hapa msikunywe na sababu ni hii moja mbili tatu. Now research institutions like universities, we never saw any university coming on board waseme kwamba wacha sisi to undertake an independent study kuhakikisha kama hiyo sukari iko na mercury ama hiyo nyama, you remember the sodium metabisulfate and what have you. Way forward.
So I would say first, the issue that we've been having in Kenya is that our politicians are also business people, and this is unlikely if you go to the west and also the east. That the tycoons in parts of America, Europe, and Asia are not in any way involved in government. But you find in Africa, and especially in Kenya, all the richest people have been in government. So all these people are also involved in all kind of businesses.
Full time.
So you find we have structures that are laid to make sure that all the goods that we consume are up to date and also are adding value to our health. But you find they're raising these alarms without doing their due diligence, without investigating. Do we really have that issue? So at first I will always take most of these things, and this is wrong, because most of us, we take these things as just propagandas. And I'll say over 50% of all the issues, especially with goods in Kenya, are always raised as propaganda so that a certain good can sell. As we were having the issue with sugar, we were told that there is tons of sugars that were imported during the same time, and this has been crippling our economy, and also the sugar farmers in Kenya. Not only the sugar farmers, also the maize farmers. We had a bountiful harvest last year, and I still feel with all these issues, at the end, the farmer won't get his own side of the bargain, and he worked for a whole year to deliver on the food basket of this country. So the issue is, and this is what should be corrected, is we should respect the channels that we've read to investigate and work within certain products. We should respect all those institutions. The next thing is the way of communication in Kenya. You've ever seen, even on accidents or any other thing, any other misfortune that happens in this country, the way even you media people report it is wrong, and also the way government handles it is very wrong. We would always get news before the government gives us a touch of the same. So I think it really depends on how we raise these issues and how we take care of the issues before we bring it to feed the public with all these issues. But I feel there is bad blood, because the same people who are supposed to defend us are the same people selling these products to us.
Thank you, Mr. Kamau. Mr. Oluoch, you're parting short now. What is the way forward on government regulations, their communication with the citizens, and how further can we achieve the best out of all these processes of regulating consumption, production, supply, and all those in the chain of production?
Yes, first of all, we are living in a digital world, and every stakeholder, that means that in this I mean the citizens, the media, and the government need to read from the same script. The way just John has said, you get there's something that has happened and media people are reporting it differently. And even these media people, in these media stations, they are owned by the same very people. So when something comes that favors the owner of maybe the media station, they will not report it as it's supposed to be. So I think the first thing, let us first, when any information comes, let it be a verified information. For Kenyans to circulate it on social media or even print media, let them first be sure of what they're circulating about. Then the other thing comes to the media. The media needs to authenticate their sources very well. They need to make sure that whatever they are reporting is very concrete, especially on social media handles, because that's where things goes out of hand. When maybe a certain media station posts something, people will take it as it is. Even if you come and apologize later, we've seen cases where a media station has said something, then later on they come and apologize. But at the end of the day, the damage has already been done. Then lastly, about the government, that's where every problem lies on. We have government people that controls different businesses in this country, and they're messing it up. And when they fight within themselves, the common mwananchi suffers. For example, government official A wants to bring something into the country, and the other B is doing the same thing. You'll make sure that he diminishes that one of the other person, so that when he brings his, at least it gets a market, and that's where everything goes wrong. So let us be accountable. The government of Kenya should be very accountable to its citizen, and whatever is coming out from them, let it be a very good and concrete information about any issue that is arousing in this country. So when we have all these people, all these stakeholders coming and speaking from the same page, I think all these issues of maybe regulations will be at the par with each and every person.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Kamau has given us the technical part of this story on how the government has to do regulations and what happens in between. Mr. Oluoch has taken us through policy and how things can be done in a humane manner. We've taken our time to focus on this matter of government regulations because we believe that what you consume is so much more important to your physical health, to emotional health, and also to your social well-being. We appreciate your comments, your feedback, and your participation in our social media platforms. For me, Cornelius Omuse, I wish you a good night.